Hi guys, I'm Kesha. Welcome to the channel, to my wonderland. It is coffee time, and today in our coffee time I'm going to be telling you about some book new releases for February 2019.
It's coffee time!
So I've put together a list of 18 releases. I'm really trying not to make like endless lists, even though there are many cool books coming out. So I've just selected 18 and now let's go through them. Let's start with the books that are going to be released on the 5th of February because there's a bunch of books that are being released in that day. The first one is an adult mystery thriller and it is called The Silent Patient. So Alicia's life seems to be perfect. She is a very well-known painter and her husband, it is also a very well-known photographer, and suddenly one day out of the blue she shot him 5 times on the face and she remains silent after that. So it sounds like a really cool psychological thriller and I'm excited about it. Then we have, of course, a very expected YA release, and that is On the Calm App by Angie Thomas. And this comes after The Hate You Give, which is one of the books that I started reading in 2019 at the very beginning and I absolutely loved. I'm super excited about this release, especially after seeing her reaction in a video she posted on Twitter when she got a box of the actual physical copies of the book. She was so excited and it was so cute. We're following the story of 16-year-old Bree, and her father was a really well-known rapper and sadly he passed away before he could make it really big, and Bree's dream is to be a rapper. Sadly one day her mom loses her job and the bills start to pile up, so Bree decides that it's not a choice anymore, she has to make it in the rapper world to get money. Then we have a new adult fantasy and it's going to be called the Dark Star Trilogy, and the first book is going to be called Black Leopard Red Wolf and it is by Marlon James. We're following the story of Tracker, and like his name says, he's really good at tracking things that got lost. So he is being hired to find a boy that disappeared 3 years ago, and through his journey he meets a lot of unusual other characters, but also he is wondering why is everybody so interested in finding this boy. Then we have a mystery thriller that I'm super excited about because it is the second book after the debut novel from Z.J. Tudor, The Chalkman. In the second novel, we're following the story of a teacher that has a hidden agenda and he goes back to the school where he used to study, where he used to attend, and he is there to discover a very dark secret. So Joe is not really happy to have to go back to this school because he lived there betrayal, suicide, his sister went missing, but he has no choice because what happened to his sister is happening again, so he has to go back. Then we have a mystery thriller called The Night That Olivia Fell and it is by Christina McDonald. This is a very tragic story about a mother that is being woken up in a call in the middle of the night, and this call is coming from the police and it's telling her that her daughter Olivia jumped off of a bridge and it is nearly dead. She's in critical condition, and one of the things that is also very shocking is that Olivia was pregnant at the time of the accident and right now she's being artificially kept alive. This sounds really interesting premise and really mysterious, so it's one of the ones that got me really intrigued and I'm probably gonna try to read this year. Then we have a YA historical fiction slash fantasy and it's called Enchanté, and I'm not gonna try to pronounce the author's name because I'm 100% gonna butcher it. We're in Paris 1789 and Camille sadly loses her parents to smallpox, and then she is kind of responsible to take care of her sister and her brother. She uses a magic power that she has to turn scraps of metal into money, and with that she buys food and medicine that they need. But suddenly one day her brother disappears with all the savings that they had, and her magic power is not really keeping the scraps of metal turned into money anymore. It's kind of not working anymore, and I absolutely loved this premise. I love this kind of very specific magical power where she can turn things into others and shape them into other things, so I'm really interested about this one. Then we have an adult historical fiction called The Lost Girls of Paris by Pam Janoff. All I know is that it's based on 3 women that were spies in the World War II, and it, revolves around their friendship and everything that they have to go through. Then we have the first books on another YA fantasy series, and it is A Chorus of Dragons. The first book is called The Ruin of Kings, and it is by Jen Lyons. It is about a bastard orphan that grew up with all of these fantasy tales of princes and things like that. But one day he's claimed to be the long-lost son of a prince, and he soon discovers that being a prince is nothing like the stories he heard about. Then we have the first book on the Courting Darkness duology, which is a new YA fantasy, and the first book is obviously called Courting Darkness by Robin Lefebvre. What I love about this book is that we are following Sibella, and she is the daughter of death itself. She is the darkest daughter of death, and she's being trained in a convent, but soon she takes a turn to take a new mission. She wants to keep her two youngest sisters away from the family that nearly destroyed them all. The last one we have on the 5th of February is The Antidote, another YA fantasy. This one is by Shelley Sakir. Magic is strictly forbidden. You're not even allowed to use it to save someone's life. We're based in a world where they are using like herbal, more natural remedies. So Faye knows this and tries to keep her magic hidden, but her best friend Xavi is heavily ill, and the problem is also that he is the crown's prince. So, you know, it becomes kind of like a conflict because it is also very beneficial that he stays the prince. So are they going to allow magic for him to be saved? What is going to happen? We don't know. Now we're moving to some books that are going to be released on the 12th of February. First, we have an adult historical fiction, and I'm really excited about this one, and it is called Finding Dorothy by Elizabeth Letts. This is basically a book based on the story behind The Wizard of Oz and how the writer of the original book and her relationship with Judy Garland was, and it's giving you like behind the scenes on one of the most popular, you know, movies made from this book. And for me, it was one of my absolutely favorite movies when I was a kid. I was obsessed with this one, and so I'm super excited about this release, and definitely one of the ones that I'm going to be reading this year. And we have yet another start on a YA fantasy series. We have Crown of Feathers by Nick Pau Preto. What I love about this is that it is based in an empire that existed in which we had Phoenix riders, which means basically that there were people riding actual Phoenix. But a war between two sisters kind of ripped all of this apart. And we follow the story of a 16-year-old orphan called Veronica, and the story is after the war and how all her ever dreamed of is to become a Phoenix Rider. So I don't know, I just love the cover of this book. I love this story, and I'm really intrigued about this one. Then we have a sci-fi release, and it is called The City in the Middle of the Night by Charlie Jane Anders. We're basically living in a world where we don't have any more changing like light and night phases. Basically, there's one part there's always light and one part there's always darkness. So this has affected the climate, and it has had a huge impact of how humanity lives. So humanity is trying to survive in this kind of new climate where either you're on the light side or on the night side, but there is no transition anymore between day and night. Some lost souls are sent to the night side, and they create a bond with some creatures, some beasts that they find there, and they are going to raise up and stand against the whole planet. And now we have the last releases, and these ones are all going to be released on the 26th of February. We have The Huntress by Kate Quinn, and this is a historical fiction. We're following the story of Nina, and she's very bold and fearless, and she loves to fly airplanes, and she joins this squad called Night Witches, and this book is based on the time of the Nazi attacks. They're basically trying to bomb the Nazis, and one day, sadly, Nina ends up crashing her plane behind the enemy line, so she's being captured by the Nazis. So when she's captured, she becomes the prey of one of the most murderous Nazis, and that is the Huntress. Then we have The Priory of the Orange Tree, and this is an adult fantasy by Samantha Shannon, and now this is a chunk of a book. So I've seen people with art copies of this book, and it looks like it's at least 800 pages, but if it's good, I'm gonna wait for some reviews to see if it's really that good to get it. It is based on the story of a queen that is kind of being put under pressure to have a child, and the assassins are already knocking at her door. So she's still unwed and she needs to have a daughter, so we have that on one side. Then we have another lady that also lives in the palace and is trying to protect the queen with black magic. And we also have another character that it is a dragon rider. So I mean, all the characters sound super cool and different, so I'm kind of intrigued. But before I commit to such a big book, I want to hear some reviews. Then we have Four Dead Queens by Astrid Schulte, and this is another YA fantasy. We are in the nation of Quadara, and we have 4 different parts inside the realm, and each of these parts on the realm has a different queen, hence the 4 queens. So there's 1 queen for each region, and they are totally different personalities, and sadly one day they also get all killed in different ways. So I'm guessing this is about the mystery on why were they killed, who killed them, and all of that jazz. And I hope this is gonna be a good one because I have high hopes for it. Then we have Rain and Delilah's Midnight Matinee by Jeff Sentner, and this is a contemporary that I have seen in people's videos already because they got arcs and they said it was good, so I'm really down for it. So it is about 2 friends that host this program called Midnight Matinee at a local cable station, but they are approaching senior year, so they have to make decisions about life and their future plans. So I'm guessing it is going to be, you know, revolving. Are we going to keep this program? Are we not? You know, are we gonna keep in touch and all of that jazz? And the last one that I want to talk to you about is Warrior of the Wild by Trisha Levenseller, and this is also a YA fantasy. A lot of fantasies coming out in February. We're following the story of an 18-year-old girl, and she is proclaimed to be the heir of the kingdom, and normally before you can take that title you need to go through some trials, and she has been training all her life for this, but somebody sabotages the trials and she fails. So her father banishes her from the kingdom and sends her away to the dangerous wilderness to do an impossible quest. To win back her honor, she must kill this god that is threatening the kingdom every year and comes every year to claim a tribute. So she basically needs to go find this god and kill him if she wants to get her honor back. That's a very nice dad. Very, very nice. And it actually sounds super interesting, to be honest, and I love everything that has to do with trials and tests and quests and things like that, so I'm excited about this one as well. Alright you guys, so those are the 18 book releases that I chose to show you in this video from February 2019. Let me know down below what you thought about the releases and which are the ones that you're most excited about. Thanks so much for watching. Give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. All my other social media is listed as well down below, and I hope to see you all in the next coffee time. Bye!